Let's read it again. 1 to go. Right? You see? Right. What is he about to talk about now? What is the subject? Why is he insulting these people? Next verse. I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form. Number 1. And void. Number 2. And the heavens, and they had no light. Which means there was darkness. Verse number 24. I beheld the mountains, and lo, they trembled, and all the hills moved lightly. I beheld, and lo, there was no man, and all the birds of the heavens were fled. I beheld, and lo, the fruitful place was a wilderness, and all the cities, underline cities, all the cities thereof were broken down at the presence of the Lord and by his fierce anger. Judgment. So from the first verse up to where we are now, we are seeing the destruction that is being caused by the anger of God, which means there was another flood before the flood of Noah. God was angry at some point and he destroyed earth. And cities were submerged. Some scholars, they believe that Jeremiah was talking about what God was going to do to Israel, how they are going to be captured, and then everything was going to be taken away from the promised land, and so on and so on. That's very true. But in an attempt to explain what is going to happen to Israel, he's quoting something that happened in Genesis chapter 1, verse number 2. Okay. Let's read it again. Okay, now let's start it now from verse number 23. How many things? The first one, without form and okay, let's go back to the book of Genesis chapter 1. Verse 2. 1 to go. And okay. Now, Jeremiah, he can't be talking of the flood of Noah. Because what Jeremiah is talking about here is something that happened even before Noah. That fierce anger of the Lord, or the judgment of God that came upon the then world, it attacked the heavens, which never happened during the flood of Noah. There was still sunlight. The stars were there. The moon remained in the sky during the flood of Noah. Are we together? Are we together? Yes. So Jeremiah, the moment he begins to talk about darkness, this is something that never happened during Noah's time. And then he said, and the fruitful land had now become a wilderness. And during Noah's flood, the earth never became a wilderness. Remember, after the flood, Noah actually sent a dove outside, and it brought a leaf, which means there was life outside. So when was this time when water covered the earth and it became dry? Dry in the sense that there was nothing rising up from the ground. All the vegetation had gone. Because when God finally said to the waters, open up and let the dry ground appear. And when the dry ground appeared, there was nothing. It was like a wilderness. There was no life. Why? Because the former creation had been destroyed by the many waters. There was the first judgment that God brought upon this earth, the fierce anger of the Lord, that made the earth to be submerged and the cities. And Jeremiah said, I beheld and there was no man. During Noah's time, Noah was there. He's talking about, I'm just trying to compare the two floods here so that you don't mistaken that flood with the flood of Noah. There was no man, but during Noah's time, there was no more than one man, right? Noah and his sons. Are we together? And I beheld, and the birds of the sky had fled away. When was that? Because during Noah's time, we still have birds. Am I right or wrong? So which time now is Jeremiah referring to? Where there were birds before, and then there were no more. And there were men, and I beheld, there was no man. As a result of the anger of God. And I beheld, and lo, there was no man, and all the birds of the heavens were fled. Verse number 26. And I beheld, and lo, the fruitful place was now a wilderness. It was once fruitful. It was once formed by God so that it can be inhabited. There were birds there. But now when I looked, it was now a wilderness. And all the cities thereof were broken down at the presence of the Lord and by his fierce anger. Verse 27. For thus saith the Lord, the whole land shall be desolate, yet will I not make a full end. He's still talking about that time. When the land was now desolate and God said, no, this cannot be the end of the world. And then he jumped into Genesis chapter 1 and verse number 3, and he began to create. But what he is creating there now, I want you to understand, the earth was already in existence. There were creatures there before Adam. And there were beings, not humans, beings. I'll talk about that. There were beings. On the earth.